Welcome back to Games Now. I'm Anna-Kaisa Kultiman. Here is my lovely co-host Solid Park. We are today reviewing jam games that we did in 1 week game jam called Neighbours Game Jam. So this is not a regular lectures of games now, but this is a really fantastic review show. You're gonna see games and also views from our speakers that started this whole thing a week ago. So Games Now is an open lecture series that also run game jams. If you want to follow all of our content, make sure that you follow our channels in social media. We have Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, what else? Facebook.
Social media.
All of the channels that you can see our content and make sure that you get notified of the new stuff. Our game jams are open for everyone, but this year we did have really nice collaboration with our friends in different universities around the globe, and specifically for this jam we had 4 nations, so Finns, Swedes, Japanese and South Koreans that were doing games, and I'm pretty sure that the teams actually had other nationalities also highlighted there, but these were the official ones. If you are a Japanese viewer currently, you can also join our Discord channel, because there will be some about an hour of the simultaneous translation in our Japanese help channel, Japanese audio
voice chat on Discord server. Although while our official language throughout this review show is going to be English.
Yes.
And I think all the games that has been submitted were also all available in English. So if you can already check them out in our HIO page. And then we're going to review some of them today as well. Yeah. So we have 17 entries.
17 entries.
17 entries, although we won't be able to discuss all of them because we have limited amount of time, but our speakers have chose their favorite and we're going to talk about them, and then more to come on our HIO page as our speakers will comment on those games there on their HIO page, even
you might see comments there. Yeah. So we had about 60 jammers and I think about 20 teams. So there are at the time of the speaking, there might be a couple of more submissions to coming in, because our deadline is actually at the end of this show. But we're going to review the games that were in time. So our deadline, the official deadline, was already yesterday to submit your games. But we are quite forgiving with the time, so we don't encourage people to crunch too much. But that's what our jam is about, and our theme was relation.
That was our theme this jam, and let's see how this turned out. I mean, I'm curious to know like how 4 different jammers from 4 different countries have interpreted this one English word called relations,
and it is the time of the world that we really need to be nice to the neighbors around us and different kinds of people that we have different kinds of relations to. So let's just be as friendly as possible to everybody in this world. We need that a lot.
Yes.
So let's take our friends from 4 different countries. Also our interpreter Jonas is here. So we have Arvi Teikari, Martin Jonasson, Sun Park.
Hello.
And Masafumi Onuki, as well as interpreter Mr. Jonas.
All of us are
Welcome
here.
back. How are you doing? Let's start with Arvi. How are you doing today?
Right. I'm doing okay. I slept a little bit too little, but otherwise I'm doing fine. And I'm intending to eat some sushi after this. So
very fitting.
Already.
Very fitting. I think that's also on my list. We can't these days in Helsinki. We can't really avoid sushi because there's so many places that offer that. So it has become really also national food in Finland in a way.
For some reason, there's a lot of sushi buffet in Helsinki. It's becoming like a trend.
I don't mind.
I don't mind it either. It's very good. How about Martin? How are you doing? You are also still back at Malmö.
I'm in Malmö this time at the office. I just had some sushi for lunch.
Oh wow!
So,
it's the theme of the day.
I'm excited to talk about some video games.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about some video games.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about sushi.
So how is Sun? Did you also eat sushi or did you eat some Korean tasty food?
No, I haven't got sushi for today's lunch. I got kimchi jjigae, the traditional
Kimchi
soup.
soup.
Oh, nice.
And also, I showed the last talks video to my daughter, especially that point she said "apa moeo" while I'm
Oh,
talking, and then she's trying to open the door in this room right now with saying like "apa moeo" again. So
okay. She wants to be part of the show again.
yeah, that's
That
a
would be so cute.
current status for me.
Okay. We welcomed her in case
Yeah.
she jumps in. We'll say hi.
Yeah.
How about
Hopefully.
Masafumi? How is your? Did you eat some crab today?
Expensive.
今日はカニを食べられましたか今日は。
I'm eating 納豆ご飯。
Oh, natto.
Oh, not
Yeah.
my favorite, but very interesting though.
Yeah, some people like it, some people hate it.
I'm really
Natto.
big fan of natto. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very traditional, very Japanese themed.
I know, but it looks so weird.
You mix it and then make it bubbly. Yeah.
So I'm really happy to have you here. I think that we could start reviewing the game. So yeah, we had the 17 entries and we're gonna go through 10 of them, and we're gonna take our beautiful panel of experts and they will have a couple of games to highlight, and we're gonna discuss together if there's something to add. So might as well just start, I guess. That's what the people are waiting for. So we'll start with Masafumi, and let's see. The first game is Cat Kingdom.
Cat Kingdom.
So go ahead, Masafumi-san. It's your stage.
はい。では、キャットキングダム。まず見た目が可愛くて、最初に目を引いたのですが、遊んでみると非常に予想に反して難しく、純粋にゲームプレイを楽しめたゲームです。
Yes, it's a very cute-looking game, and when I started playing it, I got surprised by how difficult it actually is. So I think it's a very good game. It gives you like it gives you something to play.
で、猫が主人公で敵として犬が出てくるんですけど、猫には攻撃手段がないんですね。
And the main character is a cat, and you have dogs as opponents, but the cat cannot actually attack anybody. That doesn't have any means to attack.
それに対して犬は猫の上に乗ってダメージを与えてきたり、矢を放ってきたり、果てはテレポートして体当たりしてきたりとやりたい放題です。
On the other hand, the dogs, they have all the means accessible. They can jump on the cat and give it some damage. They can shoot arrows at it. They can teleport on top of you. They have all the means available.
容赦なくて最初はびっくりしましたね。
I was surprised by the unmercifulness of it all.
ページも足場が狭くて、消えたりしますし、トゲが並べられていて非常に危険です。
And also the platforms you're jumping on, they're very narrow. They disappear under you. It's very tight calls are often coming up.
We could also see like live gameplay from Solip at the same time.
Yeah.
これもソリップさんが今ライブでゲームしてます。
最初はちょっと理不尽さを感じますが、5回までミスできるのでクリアできそうというところまで不思議といけるんですね。
First, you kind of feel that the difficulty is observed, but then you have 5 tries, and in the end, you end up, clearing the stages.
例えばもう消えたり出たりする足場に対して2段ジャンプで時間を調整したりするのもなかなかスリリングですし、トゲだらけの地面でテレポートしてくる犬が襲ってくるとどうしようもないので、ダメージ受けた後に無敵時間で走り抜けたりとかいろいろ工夫が迫られます。
For example, when you have these appearing and vanishing platforms, you can extend the time when you're in the air by doing double jumps. And also, when you have these teleporting dogs coming at you, well, there's nothing you can do about those, but you can then dash through using your invulnerability time after taking damage. So you're kind of forced to take on these different kinds of. You're kind of the game makes you think about how to proceed.
特別なアイディアというのはちょっとないかもしれないんですけども、歯ごたえのあるゲームにしてやろうというレベルデザインが非常に気に入りました。
I don't really have any ideas as such, but I think it's a very good game, a very challenging game, and that's one of its good things about it.
I love the characters also.
キャラクターも大好きですね。ね。
最後のステージは犬じゃなくて猫も矢が撃てるようになります。
And I'm going to spoil you a little bit. In the last stage, also the cat will become able to shoot arrows.
犬にお返しを十分してやりましょう。もらったものはお返しするのがリレーションなのかなと思いますね。
So you can give the dogs a taste of what they've been giving you this far, and I think that's like being able to, have them taste their own medicine is also a form of relationship.
で一般的なプラットフォーマーゲームのアドバイスとしてですが、キャラクターが落下しているときは下の方向をもっと広く表示してくれるとかなり遊びやすくなると思います。
As a general advice for platformer games, for situations where the character is falling, it might be a good idea to show the the space below the characters in little more, show more of it. That would probably make it easier or more enjoyable.
今の足場の位置を覚えてからその感覚で着地する感じもスリリングで嫌いではないですけれども。
Although I don't object to the current approach where you actually have to remember where the platforms are in order to be able to hit them, it's also quite thrilling that way.
以上です。
So that's all for my for Cat Kingdom from me.
Yeah, this is when we were observing this on the Discord, there's actually this cat is now our emoji.
Yes.
So I really love the fluffy, chubby cat. Was it also a favorite of someone else than Masafumi? So if let's see, if there's other comments as well.
If somebody wants to step in.
Yeah, I also played the entire game and got to fly the cloud, I guess, at the end. That was fun.
Nice.
But the camera is funny. It's it makes the game a lot more challenging, and it's hard to tell if it's on purpose or it just ended up that way. But I think it would be a lot more. It would be a lot easier if the camera maybe panned down a little bit, because now you mostly see the sky. But I did enjoy it. It was fun and challenging. And it took a little bit to figure out what the idea was, how to get through things. But it was fun.
Yeah. This had 7 people in the team, 3 artists, 1 designer, I guess, and 2 programmers, and then also a musician.
It was a quite big team, and it was international team. And then throughout the week, because we watched their chat log on Discord, we also noticed they were very dynamic. They were talking quite a lot to each other, encouraging a lot. And at some point, when this cat character first showed up on their Discord, when their artist was like, "Hey, this is gonna be our character," and then I think it was one of their designer was like, "This should be in the Game Jam Discord server's emoji," and I quickly pinged up to it, and then eventually we just adopted this cat character as one of our games now. Discord server
it's now
emoji.
games, now cat as well.
So cute.
I really love the characters in this, and I was wondering if this the regular the hate and love relationship, or maybe just hate relationship between cats and the dogs.
Aww.
So is that the relation here? I don't know if others feel the same, that how do we interpret the theme in this jam game?
Relation.
I guess we can move on to the next one, because so there's a lot of also cats in other games, I guess.
Right.
We're gonna see more cat games.
This is not the only cat game, apparently. We have a lot of cat games.
We're gonna continue with Masafumi, and these were also kind of an interest of the other experts here, and I was also really intrigued by this. So the next project is Traveling Neighbours. Let's see that.
はい、大貫さんどうぞ。
ジャムを集めるタイムアタックゲームで、主人公はおそらくパンで、四角形なんですよね。
So it's basically a race against time where the character is supposed to be gathering jam, and I think the character is probably a piece of bread. He looks kind of rectangular in that way.
左右に加速できるのと、あと空中で2回ジャンプができます。そして壁にぶつかるとジャンプ回数が回復します。
So you're basically able to accelerate, and you can also jump once in mid-air, and when you hit a wall, your jumps are refreshed.
これによって壁や天井に張り付くような動きができるんですね。例えば落ちそうになっても天井が近くにあればかなり耐えて、動くことができます。
So this allows you to like extend yourself in many ways. For example, like even if you're about to fall, if you have the roof or the walls near you, you can actually go to those for more jump, and then you can extend your like performance quite loved.
でこの動きも物理演算的な加速度が非常に効いていて、慣れてくると非常に素早く動きます。もう忍者のような気分を味わえますね。とてもスリリングです。
And also the basically the physics works so that you are kind of like you have the movement is quite speedy. You feel like you're a ninja, going around and whirling around. It's quite thrilling actually.
多分忍者のゲームを作ろうとしたらアニメーションとか大変でしょうけど、似たような体験をこの、パン君で得られるのは、デザインの勝利と言えるでしょう。
If you're trying to make an actual ninja game, I think the animation would be much more, big hurdle. But then if you're having a ninja game where you have actually this piece of bread as the main character, I think that's a definite victory for the design team there, right there.
音楽も素晴らしいですし、グラフィックもシンプルながら非常にかっこいいデザインだと思います。
I also love the music, and I think the graphics, they're very simple, clean, and I like them very much.
でスマートフォン版が出来が良くて、アローキーが PC 版だとキーボードのアローキーで横に移動しながら上を押したりとかちょっと押しにくいんですけれども、スマートフォンだとこうボタンが左右に分かれているので非常に遊びやすかったです。
And especially the smartphone version is a very, I think it's well made. If you're playing on a keyboard, going around with the arrow keys is a little bit difficult, but then I think because a smartphone has the buttons on either side, it's much easier to control.
以上になります。
So that's all from me.
Thank you, Masafumi. Solip is actually pretty good with playing this. You say that you don't know how to play platformers, but this seems to give you the chances to be good.
Yes, finally.
It looks really bouncy, and in the chat it was corrected that it's cheese.
It's a cheese. It's a cheese slice, I guess, like burger cheese.
It's a cheese.
Yeah.
So some kind of rubbery cheese, I guess, so that it's bouncy. Did other experts have anything like to add to Masafumi-san's comments?
Everybody knows that toast is bouncy and cheese is not bouncy. Is that what we learned?
Yeah, that's what I also thought of. I thought this was a toast because it's bouncy.
I also thought it was bread, but cheese also.
Oh, nice! I picked it up that it's cheese. So I guess I don't notice that the toast is bouncy. For me, toast is just crunchy because I put it in a toaster. But they also bounce from the toaster.
So bounce from the toaster, of course.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this project was really weird.
I don't know what they were thinking.
Sorry. So this project was really kind of an unconventional jam project because it was a traveling project. So I guess the team was kind of composed so that people got the Unity build.
Yeah, so it's kind of
and they could continue from there.
Right, it's kind of like a rolling paper where you get one sheet of paper and then each one writes on their own and then rotate it around the group. That's basically how this team worked. So one person will program something on Unity and then send it to other person and build it up. And there's artists, there's also sound designers involved as well as coders that basically each one contribute something towards the end, and it turns out pretty interesting.
Yeah, so this is the original idea for how to make this project came from experienced jammer Mika, and the team was then put together with Excel sheet of providing slots where the project is for someone. And I don't know too much about there are a lot of like challenges for this, but it was really interesting to see that that can work, because there's been like a lot of years we've been thinking about this, for instance, with Global Game Jam, that should we have a traveling project from a time zone to another. So this seems like really successful.
Right. So like everybody kind of worked on their own time zone. One to another, and then that was something that we also observed. And because this jam involved 4 different countries, many groups struggled with calculating time zone. When is the best time to meet up? When is the best time we can have a voice chat? Whereas in this team, technically they never did. They traveled around the world in different time zone, and by the time you wake up, something is done. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I think this is really good. So we might encourage people to do this again. But there's also like a lot of experienced teammates in here.
Yep.
Let's continue with the next one, which is also Neighbourhoods.
はい、どうも。こちらの作品、おそらく開発者の周囲の景観を 3D スキャンで、アプリで切り出したものだと思うんですけど。
So I think this is actually a game where they've been taking like footage from around the creators have been taking footage from around themselves and scanning in 3D.
で、ポイントクリックで特定の場所を押すと音が鳴ったり、テキストが表示されて別の場所に切り替わったりします。
So it's basically a point-clicking game where you have hotspots, and when you click them, you get text, and you may go into a different place.
で、私は探索型のアドベンチャーゲームで主観視点のものは結構3D をしてしまうので、こうやって 3D の舞台自体を回転させる方向性は好きですね。
So it's basically a like explorative adventure game where you're kind of like having this 3D environment, and being able to revolve the 3D environment freely is something I quite like.
で、音とテキストがこの開発者の方が複数の国に渡っていると思われるので、複数の国の生活感を、出していますね。
And because you have the developers are coming from several different countries, you kind of like have this feeling of like being in. I mean, it's not just about one place. You have like this feeling of being in terms of several countries. Feel like being in several of them, or like have this familiarity from several countries in the text.
今回のようなグローバルなゲームジャムらしい作品と言えるでしょう。
I think it's very suitable. It's very like it has this air of a global game jam piece, which is something that this game jam is all about.
雰囲気を音と景観を楽しむという方向性なら今のままでいいかもしれませんが。回してクリックするという操作は面白いので、例えばスキャンした場所にちなんだ謎解きも入れてみるとゲームとして面白くなるかもしれません。
And right now it's a very good, a piece for like experiencing the mood of the place and experiencing the music, because you have this ability to revolve the environment and click things. Then maybe you could actually have more like puzzles that have to do with these places.
以上になります。
So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is very interesting, and I was really happy to see something a bit more experimental. Did we have some other expert that also wanted to say a couple of words about this?
Yeah, I found this really, really interesting as well. I actually wondered while playing if the 3D models were from some kind of like a database, like that some company had scanned them, because I didn't know if that kind of scanning of a space was kind of available for like everyday use. And apparently reading the credits, those were actually scanned during the jam, and I was really impressed by that, because I felt that it kind of changed these everyday locations into small kind of sculptures or art pieces And I also like the kind of glitches with the scanning because it kind of made them more unique looking.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I found the game in general very meditative, and I could definitely see myself enjoying kind of exploring a set of environments with this kind of background noises relevant to the locations, and looking at all the different details and such. I really like that.
I kind of the thing that came to my mind because of you rolling around is like one Finnish game called Zenbound that is like supposed to be also this kind of really meditative game where you roll a rope over a piece, like a wooden piece. So maybe there's a lot to explore in this prototype in terms of like to make it an actual product, because I would love to have these experiences of audio clips and then roll it around and kind of make sure that I take a look at these places where people have been to. So I really appreciate this project. It's very poetic.
Mm-hmm. And also it was quite interesting, this like 3D scanned environment, just what Arvi said, it gives kind of interesting texture. It gives sort of interesting feeling, but at the same time, I was able to recognize which one was the Finnish grocery store. So I was like, I get it. That's the one. I feel more familiar on that aspect. Even if the senior is a bit distorted, but I could able to see like connection to some space in a very altered way. So that was very, I would say it's very artistic. In that sense.
Yes, Arvi was pointing it out. Yeah.
I think it's really cool the way that the sort of semi-broken 3D scans, the way that they just like abruptly end, and you can tell like it doesn't deal super well with glass and like transparent things. And it's not a problem. Like it like it feathers very nicely with the aesthetic of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I enjoyed it.
That feels like
way
more
than I thought I
etheric.
would.
Yeah, etheric, yeah.
Yeah.
So I love it like in how game jams, like if you have, maybe you think about your concept in like it needs to be perfect in this corner and this way, and then you just take that aesthetic, whatever you come up with, or like a little bit like a bug is a feature, but more like you are embracing the imperfections and kind of making them to your style. And this could be even, I guess, like exaggerated even more in a way.
Great. Yeah, I think this is one of the games that because this is a game jam, people were able to explore and try out. Yeah.
So I wonder if there would be like even more nationalities in the team, and then I guess there's at least like Finns, and then also people that were living in Japan, and and they were able to really capture different
surroundings. It was a team between Japanese and Finnish jammers, if we understood correctly. Of course, we didn't like our jammers. Some of the jammers did not specify their nationality on Discord,
it's just
but we're just kind of guessing it out based on the names that are listed in our HIO page. So you can check them out also.
So yeah, that was really interesting. We're gonna move into Sun's favorites next.
Yay!
So Sun, go ahead. That's emo.
Yeah, I searched that this word should be called like EMO. So it's
EMO.
EMO. Okay.
It means emotion. So Chinese people like use this EMO like my emotion is bad or something like that. So they use this EMO between two Chinese words. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I like this kind of game at Game Jam, like, which means like I'm a kind of small game which has a social message, because I'm not that kind of person. I'm just like exploring game mechanic, not just message. So yeah, I always like this kind of small game with a kind of powerful message. So yeah, I think this game EMO successfully put the theme relation into a simple dodge game mechanic. So I could felt like the power of relation by playing this small game was such a warm experience to me, and also especially the game mechanic, which is keep expanding the boundary of relation in the game from loneliness and parents, friends, love. Yeah, that was very quite good feeling. Yeah. So it feels like I got more power by connecting more people, and that's really nice. And also, it reminds me like the actual game jam mechanic to meet people, make relation, and we could get more powerful as a game developer. Yeah, but yeah, in fact, the interesting fact was this game is a solo dev project. So yeah, I could also feel like loneliness of developer of this game. Yeah.
No, the
Yeah, I'm
game
just
developer.
kidding. Yeah.
He or she self was depressed. Oh, I just game over. Yeah, if once you game over, it says I am overwhelmed by bad emotions. That's the end game status.
I really love this. Is one of my favorites for sure.
It's actually also very interesting. So like the only way you can attack this red thingy is to attract a string between this white text, and then if you go too far, it gets disconnected.
Yeah.
So you want to maintain your relationship with them.
I think this is really genius way of interpreting the theme.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything like that. Son, have you seen the similar kind of mechanics in the different games?
I don't actually remember, but yeah, some kind of games use the text itself as their main mechanics, like Typo Man. Yeah, the game called Typo Man and some other games, and yeah, I really liked this kind of art direction actually, using the text, sometimes using text directly rather than using image. Yeah, sometimes it's better than image to present, especially to present a kind of strong message, because the text itself is also a small messages. So mixing those texts could make more powerful atmosphere and messages. So I was really liked it.
Yeah, I also really like the using of text as the characters, and also as a small detail, I liked how the text had been shaped really neatly, especially the loneliness has this kind of wavy look to it. It was a small thing, but I really like the kind of a visual style of the text. So it was not just the word, but the words had been shaped a little bit to create this kind of a more stylistic pattern.
This reminds me of our Jam Sad game jam. Where you are expressing not only just positive emotions, and I guess like the games, like video games, have this reputation of being fun stuff, and we all know that games have so much more power to express all different kinds of emotions, and it's not just having like fun things, and that's why like this poetic nature of this game is really appreciative.
And it certainly has. Oh, I'm constantly playing it. I just can't stop it.
Solip got really immersed with the game. So this is interesting. It's one person team,
it's solo
jammer, and playable on a browser. And I think that this is like already a ready game in itself. There's like a tiny poetic that are there.
As well. Yes. And then it's simple enough. I mean, watching the video and reading the description itself already gives you what exactly this game is about straight on. And then let me double check. The game used Unity, Photoshop, and Audio Cutter solo jammed for roughly 18 hours of development. That's pretty amazing.
That's really nice. We have another favorite by Sun, also maybe a bit more poetic one.
Yeah,
so this is also a solo project. Sun had also other favorites, but these happen to be
his
list.
Of course. So a second poetic game I liked. So I think Game Jam is a very good place to make games as a message, because in Game Jam, games are very short, and the short gameplay volume used to make its message more powerful. So yeah, making powerful message is not just by like a very big and deep story narrative. Yeah, we could make kind of very powerful message with just 1 minute playtime. So yeah, my experience in this game was that kind of powerful experience. So yeah, at first the time limit in the game was very tight to me as a especially as a non-English speaker. So I needed more time to just read the sentence, not just solve the puzzle. So I was very upset about it, but yeah, after I saw the ending message finally, and I thought that it was because for like presenting the situation in the falling flight. So I totally understand what the game's time limit was very, very short. So yeah, and also the puzzle itself was very charming. So the kind of the relation between the sentence and also not every sentence. So each pair of sentence share a same single word. And yeah, it was very good idea to make a kind of playable text puzzle, playable sentence puzzle. Yeah, as I think. So yeah, I'm personally very curious about what RB think about this, because I'm also a very big fan of his game. So, and also he used words as a puzzle. So yeah, let me give my ball to RB. What do you think?
Unfortunately, I actually couldn't get this game to run on my computer. There was a problem with the it was in a RAR package, and my computer for some reason reported as a kind of a not working, so I couldn't open it. So unfortunately, I didn't get to play this one. But it's what I'm seeing from the gameplay, it looks really interesting, and I really like it. I think I've seen a bunch of indie games over the years that have this kind of theme of being able to switch words around or make poems or kind of interact with singular words in sentences. And it's definitely a very interesting space where you can kind of fulfill the message. Like it's you get to kind of both see the developer's intention with what they wanted to say, but also interact with it. And also the game looks very, very pretty. I like the visuals a lot.
It's quite polished. The aesthetics and also like general mood and feeling are quite nicely done. It's orchestrated well to convince certain feeling. Like I really like the lightings that were set in this room, for example. The color. Although, the time limit were quite set, so I wasn't able to explore the scene as long as possible. But it was very, like, I had to play really, really quickly. So I found this very contradiction with the atmosphere.
Yeah, I love
versus the time limit, but at the same time, once you finish the game, there is like an ending credit of what this jammer wanted, the message that the jammer wanted to deliver, and it's resonate well with the time limit and why the scenery is so pretty, but you don't have enough time to explore.
Yeah, I get so immensely sad when thinking about this game. So it's like all these memories. I'm not absolutely sure what the story is behind this, but I can imagine it, and it just really makes my heart go really sinking down. And it's just the time limit in itself is like a really powerful tool for making you feel that all this is vanishing so fast.
And this was solo jammed by Jinda Lee, made in Unity game engine.
It's really nice.
40 hours of jamming. Wow. Yeah.
All right, so let's then move to, I guess it was it Arvi that we take next?
Yeah,
So the next project is Chasing Moriarty.
Yeah, so Chasing Moriarty was this game where you control Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, and you chase Moriarty across Europe without knowing where Moriarty is. So every time you move, you get a message of whether either Holmes or Watson saw Moriarty. And if Moriarty has visited a place earlier, you also get a message. I talked with people here, Moriarty passed by this many days ago, and each day is one turn. And every now and then, there's also some kind of a burglary or other crime committed by Moriarty. So, and you get kind of like, Moriarty committed a crime over here. So you know that, okay, on that day, Moriarty was there. Personally, I really, really enjoyed this one. It resembles a board game that I played once called Scotland Yard, where you chase Jack the Ripper, or I think it was Jack the Ripper, across London with a similar idea where you don't know where Jack the Ripper is, and you need to kind of occasionally get clues on indirect clues on where Jack the Ripper is, and you need to track them down by using that information. There's also another board game, Letters from Whitechapel, with a similar concept. For me, this game had really, really nice visual style. I liked the simple but very effective visuals, and I liked the way it was presented as these letters between Holmes and Watson. Like I feel that the game committed very well to its style and also the setting of the Sherlock Holmes story. And the way it plays out, I feel that, I don't know if Moriarty's location and movements are completely random or not. So I guess there could be situations where the outcome is can be random, where it just luckily happened to be in the correct location at the correct time. But for me, the times I played, especially the second time I played, I felt that I managed to kind of deduce that, okay, Moriarty has to be somewhere in Spain, so I could kind of corner them there. So I felt that I had a plan, and I executed the plan, and the game kind of supported me executing that plan and rewarded me for it. So that was also really, really nice.
Thank you, Arvi. I think Sun also had this on the favorite list.
Oh, so, yeah. I also really liked this game. Yeah. I liked the mechanic of clue. So I think the essential mechanic of this puzzle is like mathematical puzzle. So Moriarty passed this city blah blah days ago, and players should calculate the number of days passed, and according to their own position to find Moriarty. So there was very like simple and compact and fun. So I thought that like this game design approach was very clever, especially for the short time of development in Game Jam, and also the game keep changing where Moriarty is in every single game session, and that was very efficient to make the.
It sounds like a full game
time.
Already.
Yeah, I also really liked the letter from Whitechapel, and also it reminds me like Pandemic.
That's also true.
To me, like when playing, as I mentioned, there's this element of randomness, especially because when you start out, you don't know Moriarty's location. And I also felt that this was one of the most kind of finished feeling games, which is obviously not something that is kind of necessarily important in a game jam. You are not supposed to make a finished game necessarily if you are not setting out to do exactly that. But this definitely felt like a very polished entry. And I guess like if you got the information of where Moriarty starts, or like the whereabouts of Moriarty in the beginning, I feel that the game could be even better, because then you could start forming a plan immediately instead of spending some of the first turns kind of moving more randomly, because you'd have no idea of what the information is. Maybe like Moriarty was seen 5 days ago in this location, so you know at least kind of the general area from where to start looking without knowing the exact location.
Yeah, that's one of my notes as well. I had a couple of rounds where I just spent, I don't know, 8 turns finding nothing. And, but when it works, it really works, and it's really cool. I don't know if it was an issue I had, but I had no sound or music in this game.
Let's see. There's no musician or audio credits in the
and
game.
I think that's a shame, because it would be like just anything, like a little click when you click things or anything would really improve things. Yeah, and it would be like, and for like spent effort, it'd be so cheap to do, and it would make it feel like it still feels really like well finished and rounded off, but a little bit of sound effects would be nice.
Yeah, totally. Also, this kind of thing, like there's so many options you can go for. For example, if you wanted to add music to this, you could go for the kind of suspenseful audio, or you could go for like a time appropriate symphonic light music on the background. There's so many ways you could approach the sound design for a game like this.
I also thought about like adding each city's or each country's traditional music looping, very short looping.
Some sort of
feels like travel to Europe. Yeah,
that's a really cool idea.
We could have had Japan also there. I don't know how Masafumi is feeling about that.
It's right now it's staged in Europe.
Yeah,
but it could be expanded to other regions as well.
Yeah.
そうですね。確かにモリアーティ教授みたいななんというかアジアの悪役みたいなのがちょっと今思いつかないですけど、まあアジア版もあってもいいかもしれないですね。
Yeah, I think it might be a good idea. You know, I can't immediately come up with a suitable villain, someone like Moriarty for Asia, but I think, you know, having it set in Asia might also be a nice thing. You know, having something like this.
Yeah, if the game actually spanned the entire world and you had like a team of criminal masterminds from different areas.
And getting bigger.
It could be even more like pandemic in the sense that you have like these 5 strains of criminals that you need to track down and neutralize.
Yeah, I mean the mechanic itself is quite simple. It's click, like click-based game, and then the text. But then it definitely draws attention, and there is a tension going on there as well. So I think that this game really builds this tension up pretty well with the simple mechanic and the simple setting, and maybe music adds on later. That would be nice also to build up that tension even stronger.
I guess the next project has music. I really wanted to get also Masafumi's comment, because we might soon lose our interpreter that just unfortunately has other plans. But nevertheless, we're gonna move to the next project, and it's DNA.
DNA.
It was still Arvis,
Yeah. So the game is about matching DNA, like strands of DNA to a given example, and you kind of get these pieces of DNA and you can combine them, and after combining them you have to say if you can create a matching copy of the example piece of DNA from those pieces. So actually combining them is not necessary. It's just part of the kind of making it easier for yourself to identify whether it's possible to recreate the example strand of DNA. And if you answer correctly, you gain more time. If you answer incorrectly, you lose time. And the idea is to get as far as possible. And it actually gets more complicated. The example DNA strain gets longer eventually. I think we are actually seeing it on the video. And I really like this because it was a very, very novel idea. Technically, the gameplay is very simplistic. It's just kind of like are these the same? Yes or no? But I like the way that, because of the way DNA looks with a double helix structure, the game manages to kind of make itself kind of organically more difficult by making it kind of difficult to see the relation of the different pieces, and especially when you combine two pieces together to see kind of, wait a second, how does this go around this specific set of colors? So I found that the game was kind of interestingly different in its take, and it was also very well polished. Like the gameplay is very, very simplistic, but the visuals work very well, and the game kind of succeeds in creating this sense of kind of we are doing science. We are doing science here, but I have to also say that the game is very, very difficult. Like for me, I did pretty well in Papers, Please back in the day, so I feel that I'm at least okay with kind of mixing and matching information and seeing if it's correct, but the DNA strains were definitely hard to think about. Like I often had to wait for them to rotate around to kind of wrap my head around, like, wait a second, are those colors matching or are they not matching? And I guess if something could be improved, maybe the information could be conveyed in slightly more conveniently in a way that doesn't compromise the kind of intentional difficulty of understanding the structure of DNA. Maybe the shadows of the DNA strains increase the difficulty a little bit too much, or in maybe unintended ways. Hard to say, but yeah, I enjoy how different this was from many of the other entries.
Yeah, there's an interesting interpretation of the theme here as well.
Relations, like the string. It's a puzzle game that involves 3D dimensional, and it's also it's rotating on top. So that was like I agree with Arvid. It was surprisingly difficult. When I first saw the game, I was like, I'm sure it's gonna be a puzzle pieces of 2, but it's rotating, and there's a time limit. And I'm not sure if our audience was able to listen into the music. The music is also quite subtle and very sci-fi-ish as well. Match well with the theme. So that also made me immersed. I was like, I have to solve this. There's a timer. But then,
It has a very, very good atmosphere, I feel.
You feel like scientist.
Yes. Manipulating the DNA.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one then. Connect 4 relations. There is the relation in the name even.
Very straightforward.
This game is basically traditional Connect 4, except every 8 moves you get a new row of pieces, and instead of kind of combating against another player and placing a single piece one at a time, you do the kind of a bejeweled kind of thing where you try to create, you play single player and you try to create these lines of 4 where either the colors or the shapes match, in the sense that you can have like one yellow, then a second yellow with a specific icon, then a different color with the same icon. So as long as they kind of keep something similar from one to another, you can combine them. And I felt that the game was in some ways fairly traditional. Like there are many of these kinds of games where you connect pieces in different ways. But I found the game interesting in that, again, it was kind of I felt that there was strategy to the game that was kind of hard for me to get good at. I felt that the game had kind of surprising depth in the fact that you have the shapes and you have the colors, and realizing what is the optimal move, kind of seeing the potential connections on the grid was actually much more difficult than I initially thought. And I noticed that first time I played, I kind of only connected things based on the shape because that was easier for me to see. And then on my second playthrough, I kind of started trying to utilize the idea of combining both color and shape much more. Also, I felt that the game was very polished. It was a very kind of solid. There were some bugs that I noticed when I played more, but I feel that this could very easily be polished into a very solid little kind of connect these game. Like there's already a very solid idea, and the implementation works very well.
Yeah, I love the simplicity of this game. Thank you, Arvi, for the notes. So we had the name of the creator wrong in the slides. So this is actually a solo project by Henri Sarasvirta, a student of life. So I wouldn't say that is from one of our universities collaborating, but the School of Life is the big university that we have. So this is a very experienced game developer. So I would say that, well, we hopefully see this as a product one day. I don't know how much Henry has interest in bringing this to, for instance, mobile devices. But I really love the feel of the old school, the thing that we've maybe as kids we've all used. How about other experts? Did anybody else wants to comment on this?
This is pretty addictive. I'm playing it right now on my screen as well. It's just like I can't stop. It's like a simple Tetris. And when I first saw this, I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. No, it's not. It's definitely not an easy puzzle game. And also because you can connect it diagonally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and it's definitely interesting how you kind of, at least for me, I felt the same way. After playing once, I wanted to play a second time because I felt that, well, the game was addicting, but also I felt that, okay, I want to improve my strategy. I didn't play as well as I could. So the game kind of manages to create this sense of, I can do better, which is very nice.
Yep.
But also it was interesting to see how those different approaches and different ways you can create these connections felt strategically different. Like I felt that the diagonal connections were often the most powerful ones, because if you can get a diagonal connection, you are going to move a lot of other pieces down, which can create kind of accidental new connections. So you can get like a chain reaction, which was, I guess it's something that is hard to plan for. So I guess for a finished product, it might be interesting if you could affect the pieces more, so you can intentionally create these chain reactions. But even now, it was at least very satisfying to get those to happen.
Yep. And I think the actual creator jumped into our Twitch chat here, and we were asking whether this game could become a next product or so. And apparently it's not. But that was just a one piece. Won't be a real product, at least not as it is now. Yeah. So going into my another bucket of do when retired or otherwise lots of free time.
Well, but we can play this for free on HIO, so it's there, it's done, it's ready game. So
it's a full game, for sure.
One of the great things about game jams, at least for me, is that if you make something, you can always make it just for the jam, and you can decide afterwards if it's something that you want to return to outside of the jam, or if it's a finished product for the jam, and that's it. It's a very liberating feeling of kind of being able to say that this is here, this is it, that's all. Or if you, well, actually there could be more or something like that.
It's almost like you put like a bookmark there. It's like, okay, maybe I continue. I don't know. Yeah, that's it.
Another bucket list.
Bucket list.
Bucket list.
It goes to the same pile of Steam games or other libraries of games that when are you going to play these? All of these games that have hundreds of hours of gameplay. There's so many itch.io games as well that one could play. So we're gonna move to Martin's favorites, I guess. Yes.
Yes.
Let's do that. So Escape from Zoo Island. This is also a favorite of a couple of others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is I don't know how to describe this. Like a platformer in sort of the Metroidvania tradition, with a little bit of a retro computer aesthetic going on. You could see this running on, I don't know, some old home computer maybe, or some console or something. I really like this one. It makes excellent use of like the sound effects and the music to sort of expand the experience. The graphics are rather minimalist, but it doesn't really detract from the experience, especially with like the good sound effects and the music. And as you're like jumping along these levels, you're unlocking new abilities. There's like 2 or 3 new things you can find that will like let you sort of transform the levels and use what was previously enemies like to your advantage to like get around. I really enjoyed this. Like it's very nicely put together. There's like, it took me a little while to get through it, but I did.
Congrats.
And, thank you. I feel like a personal achievement. I also like the little developer messages. They're very cute.
End goal.
Maybe, yeah, the one about like there should be a store here, but I didn't have time. Maybe
I love it.
Maybe like you could also not say anything, and I would have just accepted that.
I love that.
And there's clunky messages here and there that looks obviously like you just draw it with your mouth, like end goal. No, shop should be here. Those like.
But hey, look at the mini map.
Yeah, the minimap function.
Oof.
Yeah, the minimap is really nice. Like that I think it would have been far more confusing without that. And I can imagine that was quite a bit of work to get going. So I enjoyed that.
So you basically have to build up your own minimap as you progress. So in the center of the screen, you'll see this maps like building up as you move. And that was very fulfilling.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for video game maps and especially Metroidvania maps. And I feel that the game was made many times better for me by having this kind of a thing where you feel out something, and there's kind of a reward in both experience a game, but also from filling the entire map. And it's very satisfying to see kind of like, I explored all of this. So it's I love that kind of map design. It was really nice that the game had that.
Very nice. So the game was made by one person, and then made out of Construct 2 engine.
That's good.
Yeah, 25 hours of work. And I mean, the graphic. I think the jammer here really concentrated on game mechanics, the feeling, and
level
rather
design.
than graphic design. Well, placeholder image is still fine. And
but there are a lot of like indie games that utilizes just the boxes, and it's really effective.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I really liked the tension. I mean, like when I attacked by other, my character spring up by their attack. That was pretty nice.
Yeah, the slowdown and such, like there was a really nice effect when you get hurt by the enemies.
Yeah, and you're like, oh no, my coins that are useless, but I really need them. I want my coins.
By the way, Martin, there were a couple of kind of yellow doors, and when I got to the end, I couldn't figure out how to open them, and I felt that I didn't explore the entire map as a result.
Oh yeah, maybe that's true.
I was kind of curious if there's.
I think because you unlock something at the start, right? Like you turn something off that you then have to like turn on again. I don't know if they were related to that, so that maybe they were open. That's a good question.
Yeah, maybe there's a secret in here.
Maybe that I feel like
Easter egg.
Easter egg.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a secret.
So there's one more game to cover out of the 10 highlights, and let's see, that is called Hot Connect.
Yes. So this is a mobile game. I don't think you could play it in the browser, could you? I tried it on my phone anyway.
I also tried it on phone.
Yeah, because you play it with the accelerometer, like by taking your phone, and I don't know what to call this type of game, but you're like, you have this little character at the bottom of the screen, and you're trying to pick up your cat friends and tilt your phone to avoid anything that's not a cat, basically. And it's a really nice, cute little package with like sound and graphics and everything in the right place. And it feels really nice on the phone. Sort of very nicely put together, even with like the credit screen and everything.
Yeah.
It's sort of
looks really polished.
They also put Tiny Games Now logo in there for us as well.
Nice.
Oh.
I wouldn't avoid chocolate though, but it's like, yeah, cats.
Cats can eat chocolate. All right.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the theme of the things you're avoiding is, but I'm not asking too many questions. Like, it's fine.
It's not about game itself, but I have a question to people outside of Korea. So, it seems like this project is made by Korean students, and I feel like making Android game is very, very, very familiar in Game Jam in South Korea. So, any other countries making?
So is the question
mobile,
in other jams that do we make Android games?
Yeah, something like that. Mobile games.
Yeah, just for information, Android is a dominant mobile platform in the region. I think the market ratio is basically dominated by Android and not so much for iOS, relatively. So
I've done an Android
I mean, like
app
just
at least.
choosing the platform for their game in Game Jam. So, yeah.
Yeah, at least for my part, I feel that it's fairly rare to see kind of games that utilize mobile features only, although my viewpoint might be affected by the fact that I don't have an Android device. So I might be missing all the entries that utilize Android features because I kind of can't take a look at them.
I've seen since 2010 when we've run jams in Finland, I've seen a lot of mobile games in the Finnish jams, but that kind of maybe is obvious because of our background with Nokia. So that was the early days. We had some Nokia games in the jams.
Yeah.
And it
I
is
think
so
as soon as
easy
you need to distribute for iOS, you're in trouble because like you can do it. It's just very annoying. Like and it takes some time to set it up. Compared to sending like the APK to someone, which is way more convenient.
I think that even from Construct 3, you can just easily have the Android version of your game. So nowadays the barriers are just so much lower that you can see this happening. And it's so satisfying to make a game with touch screen, I guess, in a way.
And iOS is way easier now than it used to be. It used to be massively annoying. Now it's just regular annoying.
I wonder, like early 2000s, to make a mobile game jam with all the like shelves of devices to test with. It would be absolutely horrible.
Yeah. But at least for this jam, this was the only mobile game that was submitted. And they're made by mostly Koreans and one Finnish jammer collaborating together. And
I think one thing that I thought of as I was playing is that I think the enemies and the pickups that it spawns, I think it's true random. So sometimes you'll get 8 cats in a row, and then you'll get 4 bad things in a row. And I think the game could be improved by tweaking that a little bit, so it's not fully random. Like there's maybe
taming the randomness.
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe do some like deck shuffling, drawing of cards or something like that for it. But I think it's cool. Like it doesn't last super long. It eventually turns into avoiding all the bad things and then maybe picking up some cats because you only have 3 lives and you can't get them back. But I do like it's a cool start and it's really polished and cool.
Looks very ready in a way.
Yep.
Currently, we don't have interpretation left anymore, unfortunately, but we're going to continue with, hopefully, Masafumi, you can understand something that we chat. Feel free to shout something in Japanese. The Japanese audience might be able to still pick it up. This is the...
Maybe I can also be in help.
Oh, yeah, that is true. We do have Solip here, so we're not completely alone with it. We're not left alone without the interpreter.
日本語でなんか喋ってもいい、私が通訳できるように努力しております。
ありがとうございます。
Yay! My 7-year-old Japanese language. かわいいですか。ありがとうございます。
So that was the highlighted of 10 games. Super happy to get all the jam games submitted to our jam, and we just want to congratulate our participants that you went through the jam. There were so many teams that had international collaboration, language barriers even, and that's just amazing. I don't know how I would have done that. So this is what 6 days full jamming possibility, and a lot of the time obviously is consumed for discussing with your teammates.
Yeah, so there was online jam spanned in between 3 different time zones. So obviously, like, you know, many teams find quite a significant amount of time just to meet up, just to start communications and arranging the time for a meetup, and that surprisingly took quite a lot of time, which is why this jam is entirely week long, not 48 hours. Giving extra time for people.
But I think that looking at the hours that the teams were using for making these games, it relates to the weekend-long jams. So some of the teams were not like fully invested during the week and maybe worked more on the weekend. So it is comparable to that. But still, I'm always amazed how much stuff is done within the very short time. And I guess I've kind of written this to some article of mine, that there is a potential jam bias that people can get from looking at how many things have been already done within a weekend-long event. Because game making is then, like, you can see these like prototypes happening, but then polishing them to actual products and creating a couple of more kind of content things or levels just takes so much more time. So it's like the end product can look almost the same than the jam prototype, but then it takes maybe years to make it even kind of a full product. And I guess, Arvi, you have a personal experience of this, that you made a game on a Nordic game jam. The prototype looks very similar to the one that we can play now on Twitch and on Switch and other platforms.
Yeah, it's Personally, I kind of like how the shorter game jam time kind of both prevents you from adding that extra layer of polish, but also tells you that you don't have to. Like, everyone understands if the game is rough around the edges. So I kind of, in some ways, it's definitely annoying when I run out of time in a game jam, in a 48-hour game jam, for example, and I feel that if I just had one more day, I would have been able to add so much more. But at the same time, I have definitely had some situations where, for example, I picked the graphical style with the assumption that, okay, I'm not wanting to concentrate at all on the graphics, like I did in one game that I made in Nordic Game Jam a couple of years ago. And just kind of acknowledge to myself in the beginning that, okay, I want to do this idea I have, and I know that I won't be able to polish it much. So let's skimp on everything else. And I give myself the right to do that. And actually, that is something that I've been struggling with lately, where as I become more kind of skilled as a game developer, and as Baba Is You has kind of gained more interest and so on. I feel that my personal internal dialogue on what I need to do when making a game jam game has become more that, okay, I want to do everything in a really dynamic, polished way so that I can easily expand the game after the game jam into a more finished product. And that sometimes it's nice because obviously, often if you make a game jam game in a very short time, you end up with something that kind of needs to be remade from scratch if you want to make a full game out of it, because the code is all hacky, awful, like mess, at least for me. This is a personal viewpoint. But at the same time, it obviously takes more time. Like if I spend time to make a nice menu system for my game instead of just adding the menus that I need and nothing else, I'm going to take more time spent on just implementing the menus. So I've noticed that for the past couple of years, most of my short game jam games have actually failed to meet the goals I set for them because I spend too much time on this nonsense such as polish or make the game enjoyable instead of concentrating on the important, which is whatever I wanted to make. And actually that happened
You
this weekend
deviated
too,
from your
with
goal.
Ludum Dare 50.
So you kind of deviate
like
from your own goal, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry, Martin, I spoke again. So yeah, go ahead, Martin.
I feel like I'm getting worse at game jamming the more experienced I get.
Oh no.
I think a healthy dose of not really quite knowing what you're getting into is very useful when you're game jamming and just doing it and not thinking too much about it. Whereas I find myself thinking like 1 and 2 and 3 months ahead, which is not what you're supposed to be doing. You're like supposed to be maybe like 1 and 2 hours ahead at a maximum.
Yeah, like I remember that when I participated in game jams for the first couple of times, I felt sad that after the game jam, I might have a game that I enjoy, but I felt that if I want to work on it more, I need to start from scratch. So there was a time when I felt that, okay, I should be making these more with the mindset that I want them to be expandable later. But at this point, I realized that that's a completely wrong mindset. You should make a game jam game with the intention that I make this for this game jam. It doesn't have to work for anything else. If I want to return to it, I'll have time later. But right now, I don't have the time necessary usually to.
Plus, like you're spending 40 something hours. If you're making a full game, 40 hours is nothing. So like even if you have to rebuild it, plus this time you know kind of what it is you're building, so it's going to be faster the second time. But I still can't remember that for myself. So
I think I've 3 times now I've made the same mistake of choosing a game idea that requires you to have menus with buttons, and when you click a button you might go into a sub menu and you need to be able to return from the sub menu to the main menu, and every time about 3 times now I've implemented a full dynamic menu system in Lua, and then after implementing that I felt either that okay, I'm out of time, or I felt I've spent 12 hours on this game and there's only this button with no text. When you click it, it opens the submenu with another button with no text. This sucks. I don't want to work on this anymore. So that's one lesson I need to tell myself. Next time, don't make a game with menus.
Son, you also had experience. Like you had an amazing tip for the jammers or anybody that just take the essence of a genre and then switch it. So that became a product, that game that you had, right?
Yeah, especially for game jam, after I make a core game mechanics, it should be just only one mechanic. So I used to don't add anything after I made a single game mechanics, because experimenting game mechanic in game jam was pretty tight. So I just want to experiment one single idea to make more like a polished gameplay experience, and is very valuable to go forward after the game jam, because I need to measure about how this mechanic is good or not within game jam time. So that was my tip. And also, actually, I don't do digital game jam recently. I just do board game jam for several years, and I always recommend to do board game jam because making board game is very, very comfortable. You don't need to lots of time to make game, and also if you made some cards, you could make a kind of multiple board game with same card deck. So, and also you could do a lot of iteration by just playing card and other component of board game. So it was very, very, very good, especially for game designers. So
I really love that you can be like, oh, these rules suck, let's change them, and you can just keep playing. You don't have to like go away and program for an hour.
Exactly.
It takes just half of hour. That's perfect point.
Right. Although we wasn't able to cover it today, and we had a board game.
We're gonna kind of shout out to all the games at the end. But I have a question for Masafumi-san. Have you designed a board game ever, or will there be a board game version of the Fight Crab?
ゲームジャムでボードゲームをデザインした経験がありますか？それともファイトクラブのボードゲーム化ができるか？それは
子供の頃にボードゲームは作ったことはありますけど、最近全然やったことがないので、なんかそういうやり方も今後なんというか試してみると面白いかなと思いました。
So I've been making board game when I was young, but not recently actually. And then when I was young, I used to play and then enjoy board games. Maybe I could, but not in the recent years actually.
So no Fight Crab board game for us.
ファイトクラブのボードゲーム化はできますか？
It's crab めんこ。カニのめんこですね。叩きつけて繰り返すみたいな。
Yeah, we have to think about how to make the crab to fight. Real.
The component should be a real crabs.
From a supermarket.
Come to think of it, we also had 3D scan of game to this jam, so related to also what Masafumi had recommended us last time, like find items around you, your space, your surrounding, and then there was Neighbours game that actually scanned the environment and show it to us. So it's quite, the tips were being used.
I think that I saw kind of inspiration from the expert tips in these projects. So I was kind of happy to see that they traveled from the keynotes to the projects. But then at the same time also maybe they came up with them on their own already.
Right, exactly. And then the technology is there, the tools are there, and our imaginations could go beyond that.
We're gonna go a little bit of don't go yet, our experts, but we're gonna show a little bit of all the other games. We're not gonna go in depth to that, but just have a shout out to all of these games.
And if you have any comments for these games, feel free to shout out also.
So Cloud Boss was one of the games
it was solo jam.
Yes.
Insanely difficult, but quite fun. And it was, they had like Finnish sauna, Swedish cottage, Korean house and Japanese house, like here and there. That was so adorable. Yes.
The one person team, and then Tap and Move. This is one of my favorites as well. It's a really nice style.
Very polished.
Yeah. Son?
Oh, I just said, it's very polished.
Oh yeah, it looks really polished. It's like a Tom and Jerry. Was it Tom and Jerry? The cat and
the mouse. Tom and Jerry. And then you have to go switch back and forth between two different panels to help the mouse to grab a cheese. Right.
This was one of the like a later submission, and then there's Wizard Neighbor.
Wizard Neighbor.
And
it's sort
big
of like
team again.
Yeah, it's a big team surrounded in many different members, and it was puzzle game. You have to find an object to figure out the puzzle, and there's like a jumping angry wizard next in the tiny corner of the screen. It's like, be quiet, that was cute.
Then there was Discovering Cultures. I couldn't get this to play. There wasn't a video, so I don't know too much about it.
Well, it's very simple game, similar to Cloud Post. It goes between Finland, Sweden, Korea, and Japan, like jump in between and then traveling a tiny bit. It was very linear story, but then pixel art worked pretty well. Like look at the pretty
also solo project.
Solo jam.
Then there's Project Z.
Son has daughter. Right.
Oh,
hello.
인사해볼래? 안녕하세요 그래.
안녕하세요. 귀여워. 안녕하세요.
안녕히 계세요 했다.
Say hi.
A brief visitor, like a future expert.
Yes, future jammer.
So another project Chet, and also a few more people. Also, Sebastian has been the musician in a couple of these projects.
Mostly Swedish team, I would guess, judging by their name and the credit. And and then there was some photo. I guess this was a team that they had a photo of their like a game jamming space.
Yeah,
they gather
so
up in the physical space and then work together. That was also quite nice. Yeah,
I like the style of this. So there's like really a lot of like power in there. And then I guess was this the last one that I have in slides? It's called Colorations. So this was a board game.
This was the board game.
And I think that they utilized it. Was it the Tabletopia or the other one? I know two of these, but you can create your physical games nowadays in the digital form, and then you can test it. This also looked really like I would like to test it actually. It's not difficult to test. I don't have to print. I don't have to cut the cards. I can just play it in the digital form.
Right. And it was nice. If I remember correctly, these are the returning jammers. I think they teamed up also last time.
Oh yeah.
Well, maybe they are teaming up again. Finland and Korea.
Also a very experienced game developers in there. And then I guess this was the last one. The Murderer They Made.
Yes, and then this was apparently the first time jammer.
Yeah.
Like it was his or she's first time, according to what I've read on Discord. And then it was an experiment, which is really nicely done.
That was all of our games, and maybe Solib, we can, if we can get the screen from Solib's their screen, so to have all the, you can play all of these games in itch.io, and I don't know if there's one more or anything. Can we see anything?
Look at all 17 entries.
17 entries are there.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's basically.
That I'd like to quickly shout out about the Murderer They Made was that it was very impressive to see a jam game with I think 4 or 5 different endings. That was nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the jammer commented there he had quite a big scope, very ambitious, and then also struggled quite a bit in order to maintain the schedule and time, which I think happens quite a lot to jammers.
I think you have to get through that. So
you have to overcome that.
I think it's like oftentimes we get these tips that you need to scope down, but I think that like the first jam experience needs to be really high scope, and then you will learn what you're able to actually do from that. So I think that it's not a failure in a game jam when you overscope.
No, it's not.
It's a great learning.
Great learning. And hopefully we could able to see this new jammers in our next game jam as well, because we're gonna probably continue this Games Now game jam
during this year,
during this year and the next academic year, and then go on. I mean, this has been experiment for us hosting game jam across the country, multiple languages involved, and so far I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, we're loving it.
We're loving it, and I think hopefully our jammers really enjoyed this experience as well. So hopefully we can bring this back.
We're so happy with all the review feedback and the tips in like week ago, the design tips and tricks from our panelists here. So really thank you Arvi, Martin and Masafumi's son for this contribution to our jam. And I don't know if you have any final wisdom to share. for our participants of different levels.
Well, I guess everybody's very happy of it, at least. I mean, most of all, did you
keep
guys
doing
enjoy?
what you're doing. It seems to be working well.
Yeah.
Did you guys enjoy this jam also? To our speakers.
Fully tight.
Well, you can't answer no, of course.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting, and it's always cool to see people's results. I wanted to say earlier that a reason why I'm really hoping that we manage to get back to in-person game jams eventually is these board game submissions. Like I played a bunch of really interesting board game prototypes at game jams in the past, and it's such a shame that it's difficult to be able to playtest a board game if it's submitted for a game jam. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to eventually.
And alternative game controller projects as well. That's even more difficult. We have the digital platforms for board games now, but alternative controllers or anything experimental beyond the digital screen is just really difficult in online jams.
Exploring with new technology, new techniques and controllers. Yes, hopefully we can able to bring that now. Hopefully we could able to see more people in the physical world now that the situation is slightly getting better. Hopefully.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. For those who's watching this video recorded in the future, do let us know.
In the comments.
In the comment section below.
Maybe we'll learn it from there. There's another pandemic.
Yes.
Nevertheless, thank you so much for your experts. Thank you for the jammers. We're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna move to the screen where our experts are gone. There we go. So this was a 1-week experiment for every one of us. We had about 60 jammers participating, 17 submitted projects. I think it was a success, and we are very happy. And we are going to see more international jams also in Games Now in the future. So feel free to join whichever university of life you are at. So we welcome, as you saw, that we had highly experienced jammers, the first-time jammers, and the format of Game Jam is beautiful because it can accommodate all of these people together. We are always learning new things. Like our experts also say that they can explore things in their jams and sometimes not really being able to focus. That doesn't matter. So it's just the pure joy of creating and seeing what you can create in such a short time. And then you can also collaborate with new people.
Exactly. Meet new people, even across the world. Even if the travel is restricted still. We basically, I think this was a huge success, just out of feeling that, you feel closeness and connected. Relations with jammers out there, which you probably wouldn't have never met, able to communicate or get in contact with unless we had this sort of online space to do a jam. So I guess this was a success, I think, and I'm really
definite.
Yes. Yeah. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna try to do another more of these in the future. So stay tuned with us.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to jam with people that are from different language base. So even though you wouldn't be able to communicate maybe not that much. So we saw also the traveling project that you don't necessarily always need to have a lot of discussion with the others. You can make a game together with anybody around the world. So be really brave and just reach out to people. If your English is not that great, there are many ways to overcome that, and maybe you get motivation to learn more other languages, also not just English, but maybe Japanese, Korean,
Swedish,
Chinese, the languages that are with big masses of people.
Yep.
So
translation software works, guys.
So I'm pretty sure that it's gonna come really fast, that we can also have really fluent audio chat with automatic translation. But we also welcome everybody to our next jams. We hopefully get also Jonas Kirsi to help you with the interpretation, so that we have humans in between humans to mediate the messages between language barriers.
Yep.
So we are so happy, we're so excited. There's more to come for the program of Games Now this spring, and the next jam will be in the autumn, and that's it.
And finally, let's show some stickers here. So for those who jammed with us, we're going to announce the survey on our Discord, and once you answer those survey, we're going to ship these swag stickers to you. So make sure you answer our survey.
Yeah, thank you so much and welcome back, and just see you on the Discord server, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.